On a Tuesday in December during Helena's firm's holiday party, I found myself standing in the coat check line, holding our 11-month-old daughter on my hip, overhearing my wife's voice from the bar area brimming with wine and self-assurance. "That's just Ethan," she said casually. "In essence, he's more of a babysitter these days. I'm the one constructing our future." Her words were met with laughter from Helena's senior partner. "Well, someone needs to forego their career, right? At least he's good for something." Neither at the party nor on the ride home did I find an opportunity to contest her words. The next morning, as she grumbled about her hangover while I prepared breakfast, I realized that Helena Brennan was not receptive to challenges, especially regarding our roles. The man who had once wooed me with promises of a shared partnership, both personally and professionally, had morphed into someone who undervalued my efforts compared to her billable hours. 42% of people in relationships admit to deceiving their partners regarding finances. That's almost half. What makes this more concerning is that research indicates financial abuse is present in 99% of domestic violence cases. It's not just about who earns more, it's about who holds more control. Even the person earning six figures could be the victim, and the one staying at home might be the breadwinner. This issue often remains unacknowledged. Today's story revolves around a wife who referred to her husband as a glorified babysitter. Unbeknownst to her, he had been meticulously constructing a $500,000 portfolio while their daughter napped. We will examine the consequences of this discovery. At that time, no one at the party, including her, was aware that as Myra took her daily nap, I sat in our home office executing trades which transformed my grandmother's initial $50,000 inheritance into over $500,000. The markets opened at 9:30, and Myra went to sleep at 10:00. For the majority of days, I had approximately 2.5 hours to implement strategies I've been planning since college. Helena was aware that I dabbled in investing with my inheritance, but she didn't comprehend the magnitude. We'd always filed our taxes individually starting from year one, which she justified as being more suitable for her firm's regulatory needs. In retrospect, this should have served as a red flag. After approximately 6 months into our marriage, when it became clear that Myra was on the way and my decision to be a stay-at-home parent was permanent, Helena ceased inquiring about my daily activities. In her perspective, I had traded my career in software consulting for the role of caretaker. She regarded this as admirable, perhaps, but ultimately saw it as an unpromising path that left her as the sole financial provider for our household. This misunderstanding proved beneficial on Wednesday morning when I began meticulously documenting everything. I kept records just as I kept trading logs, systematically, objectively, with time stamps and categories. Every offhand remark ended up in a dated note. For months, I've logged the amount, date, and purpose each time Helena moved funds from our shared account to her personal one, a habit stemming from my consulting days where documentation safeguarded projects. It wasn't until after the holiday party that this practice became more systematic. By February, discernible patterns arose that didn't align with her documented expenditures. Helena earns $340,000 annually as a senior associate at Whitmore and Associates, one of the city's top-tier corporate law firms. Her path to partnership seemed unwavering, and her professional standing was beyond reproach. Our joint account served as the conduit for her paychecks via direct deposit, with the proceeds used to cover our mortgage, utilities, and shared expenses. My trading income, however, found its way into a separate brokerage account in my sole name, created prior to our marriage. $4,000 were transferred to our shared account monthly, covering household expenses and providing what Helena referred to as my discretionary funds. She started using this term around Myra's first birthday. "Make sure you set aside some of your discretionary funds for Father's Day," she said, without looking away from her phone. It seemed as if the money I contributed was an allowance instead of a calculated part of my income, which I intentionally didn't reveal in full. The first questionable transfer was $8,000 on Valentine's Day, categorized as personal expenses in our banking app. The second was $6,500 in March, tagged Client Wardrobe Development. By April, I had recorded $31,000 in transfers to Helena's personal account, all with ambiguous descriptions that didn't align with her previous spending habits. Instead of addressing the issue directly, I chose to engage Ravi Castellano's services. Castellano ran a specialized financial investigation firm for divorce cases. During our initial consultation via video call arranged during Myra's nap, I disclosed my concerns about my wife's intentions to leave and financial activities. The professional, who bore a weathered appearance suggestive of dealing with numerous marital dissolutions, explained he would need full access to the joint account and authorization for record extraction, background checks on regular contacts, and potential surveillance if necessary. I agreed to pay his $400 hourly rate, transferring an initial retainer of $15,000 during our conversation. The preliminary report, delivered 14 weeks later, redefined my marriage altogether, indicating that Helena was not planning to depart from me. Over 6 months, she covertly transferred $47,000 from our shared account to her personal one, yet claimed those funds were for client development or personal expenses. However, a thorough examination revealed that she was instead funding an extravagant lifestyle with Marcus Sullivan, a colleague who had joined Whitmore and Associates in the fall. The evidence included time-stamped photos of them dining at unfamiliar restaurants, entering a financial district hotel at 2 p.m. on a Thursday, and shopping together at stores where a single purchase exceeded our monthly groceries. The financial analysis also unveiled that she had secretly opened a new credit card, incurred $23,000 in charges, and paid them off from our joint account under the guise of household expenses. Finally, the report presented indisputable proof of her true intentions. Helena, having utilized our shared family iPad for synchronizing her messages, apparently unaware that it was connected to her Apple ID during the setup of Myra's educational apps 2 years prior, contained thousands of messages on the device backing up automatically to our joint cloud storage, as Castellano pointed out. In a text to Marcus, she mentioned her exit strategy, stating, "Another year, maybe 2, followed by, "Once I make partner in the equity vests, I'll file." She seemed confident that he would receive little during the divorce proceedings, arguing that his lack of employment and dependency on her made him an insignificant contributor. Sitting in my home office while Myra played in her playpen, I read that message thrice. The woman I had married, who once wept at my proposal, appeared to have been planning my financial ruin for the past year, dismissively labeling me as a babysitter to her colleagues. The subsequent message was even more disheartening. What stood out most was, her underestimation of me had led to her committing fraud, believing I was financially ignorant. But she was mistaken. For a month, I meticulously constructed a case like planning a trading strategy, considering all variables, testing assumptions, and preparing for various possibilities. Castellano connected me with Linda Zhao, a family law attorney proficient in complex high-asset divorces, especially those involving hidden income and fraud. Upon reviewing Castellano's report, Zhao stated decisively, "This is actionable." She's falsified withdrawals from shared accounts for personal purposes, which could lead to tax problems if she's concealed income. Additionally, the fact that she devised this scheme while you were the primary caregiver provides us a strong advantage. I responded, "I'm not seeking revenge. I want sole custody of Myra, a fair distribution of genuine assets, and for her to be held accountable for financial mismanagement." Zhao didn't smile warmly. "In my experience, these things aren't incompatible with revenge. They're simply more lasting. We filed the petition in June, 2 weeks before Helena's partnership vote, a timing suggestion by Zhao, aimed at exerting maximum pressure and minimizing Helena's ability to maneuver. The filing included a forensic analysis of all transactions from shared accounts, evidence of the affair, and a formal request for the court to order a comprehensive financial audit. Helena was served with the petition at her office. Zhao arranged for the process server to appear at 4:00 p.m. Every Thursday, it was customary for partners to convene for their weekly meeting. The timing was strategic. Senior associate Helena Brennan, on the verge of becoming a partner, received divorce papers alleging financial misconduct that same day. She called me 11 times that night, but I didn't answer. John had been clear, no direct communication, everything through lawyers. Helena's voicemails ranged from confusion to anger, culminating in a panicked tone. The last message was 7 minutes long, primarily consisting of her asserting this was a misunderstanding and that they could resolve it without lawyers. I was serving Myra dinner when that final voicemail arrived. It was the first time in months I felt I could breathe freely. Helena sought counsel from an external attorney immediately. Malcolm Whitmore, the founding partner of her firm, reportedly warned her that engaging any lawyer from Whitmore and Associates would result in too many conflicts. Zhao's new lawyer initiated a forceful opening communication towards her, presenting allegations of mental abuse, demands for principal custody, and charges of concealed assets. Zhao countered with precision, submitting Castellano's complete report, bank records detailing suspicious transactions, copies of synchronized messages, and a notice of intent to request a comprehensive forensic audit of Helena's entire financial portfolio, including bonuses and secondary accounts. The partnership meeting was delayed. As per Zhao's monitored legal gossip network, Whitmore and Associates had summoned an immediate ethics review due to an allegation of financial misconduct against a senior associate regarding their spouse. Given the primary care responsibilities involved, the firm couldn't disregard these accusations, more so when backed by tangible proof. The first mediation meeting was arranged for August. Helena appeared with her lawyer and 2 companions, a display of power that would have unnerved me a year ago. Now, having spent several months uncovering her consistent deceit, I found it nearly amusing. "My client is ready to propose favorable conditions," her legal representative started, pushing a settlement agreement towards the table. Primary custody for Ms. Brennan, weekend visits for Mr. Brennan, child support calculated from her base salary of $340,000, and a straightforward division of marital assets with no additional hearings. I didn't even glance at the paperwork, nor did Zhao. She had prepared me for this. The initial offer was always structured to appear reasonable while actually surrendering nothing. "That's inadequate," Zhao stated. "Your client misused joint funds, concealed income, and intended to exploit the court system to minimize obligations using false financial statements. We're not negotiating from an equal starting point. Taka, Kok. Consider Myra." "Are you intent on prolonging this discussion?" I met her gaze squarely. "I believe it's crucial she understands that actions bear results. One cannot misappropriate funds from those who rely on them and justify it as tactical maneuvering." "I didn't take your money," Helena countered. "It was our shared account for shared expenses," I retorted. "Not for your affair expenses, not for secret credit cards, not for creating a retirement fund you aimed to conceal in divorce court proceedings." Her attorney tried to interject, but Helena silenced him. "Perhaps you're unaware of the financial responsibilities I shoulder in maintaining our family while you enjoy your domestic role," she asserted. "Have you ever had to stand in for me at firm events? Have you ever had to explain my lack of professional presence?" "I do work," I murmured. "You simply chose to disregard my contributions." A document was placed on the table, Mr. Brennan's tax returns from the past 3 years. Yearly, he makes around $190,000 from equity trading, all of which is declared and taxed appropriately. He contributes $48,000 annually towards household expenses while providing full-time child care, estimated to be worth about $75,000 yearly for a child under 2. According to fair measurements, Mr. Brennan contributed more to the household than Ms. Brennan did when considering her post-tax income and the worth of his unremunerated work. As Helena digested the figures, she acknowledged that she hadn't been financially dependent, but rather tactical. Every presumption for her exit plan was incorrect, she admitted. "This is unbelievable," she said. "You kept me in the dark." "You never inquired," I responded. "Once you decided I wasn't worth considering, you stopped asking about my life. That's not my oversight, it's yours." The mediation concluded without resolution. The lawyer attempted to alleviate the predicament by asking for additional time, citing the need to scrutinize new details. However, Zhao refused and stated that a court date would be requested instead, as Helena's partnership vote was nullified in September. Whitmore and Associates released an ambiguous statement concerning private issues needing resolution, but it was common knowledge within legal circles. I learned through Zhao's network that Helena had been temporarily suspended, some clients demanded new representation, and Marcus Sullivan was dismissed. The initial hearing was set for October. Helena appearing more diminished than previously remembered, dressed in a modest suit intended to convey remorse. "Your Honor," her attorney started, "Ms. Brennan admits errors occurred in the management of the marital assets, but she intends to fully reimburse. These were expenses she thought were permissible as a joint account holder." Judge Morrison, a 60-year-old woman with a well-known disdain for deceit, showed little expression. "Counselor, I've examined the evidence. Your client exchanged messages discussing concealing income and strategizing to minimize her support responsibilities using fabricated financial statements. That's not an oversight. That's premeditation," the lawyer attempted again. "Ms. Brennan has already endured substantial professional setbacks." She lost her position at a distinguished firm, damaging her professional standing. Imposing further penalties appears punitive rather than restorative. Morrison addressed Helena directly. Ms. Brennan, as an attorney, you are aware that financial misconduct does not become justified because it targets a spouse. Stand tall. Helena stood, her hands trembling slightly. You transferred $47,000 from your joint account under false pretenses, Morrison stated. You concealed income. You conspired to manipulate support calculations. In the midst of your efforts, your spouse was primarily responsible for childcare and significantly supported household finances from an income source that you seemed uninterested in examining. Is it clear to you how this might appear to the court? Yes, Your Honor, Helena replied softly. I'm directing a thorough financial examination of all accounts belonging to Ms. Brennan over the past 5 years. In the interim, I'm granting temporary primary custody to Mr. Brennan until the custody evaluation is completed. We'll reconvene. The judge's gavel echoed sharply in the silent courtroom. Her lawyer tried to halt her, but she managed to say, I didn't intend for it to escalate this much. Indeed, you did, I said. You strategized specifically for this outcome. You merely underestimated being found out. The 6-week forensic audit uncovered that Helena concealed approximately $280,000 in bonuses over 3 years, managed 2 secret investment accounts, and structured property transactions to avoid marital asset division. Zhao filed additional motions detailing these findings. In December, Helena's lawyer contacted us for a settlement. The divorce was finalized in February. I was granted primary custody, with Helena allowed supervised visitation every other weekend. The asset distribution awarded me the house, my share of Myra's college fund, $100,000 in compensatory damages, and an adjustment to account for the hidden bonuses. Morrison made a brief closing statement that I've frequently revisited since. Ms. Brennan, Morrison stated, you had a thriving career, a strong marriage, and a flourishing child. You risked losing all 3, your job, marriage, and dignity, because you thought your significance surpassed your husband's, and this allowed you to deceive him. May this situation serve as a reminder that respect isn't quantifiable in work hours, and undervaluing others doesn't diminish their abilities. It merely clouds your vision. Outside the courthouse, Myra and her carrier and I were bathed in the afternoon light. Zhao approached me on the steps. Are you returning to consulting? I replied. No, I intend to become a highly competent babysitter who makes smarter financial decisions than most CFOs. She chuckled. That's an excellent response. Myra pulled my finger and we headed home. The touch returns were your preferred segment. As for Ethan and that $140,000, feel free to suggest below. I'll feature the most insightful recommendation.